Hello, wonderful, gorgeous folk. Today I'm talking about tampering. Have you been tampered with? Has somebody tampered with you? Well, I'll explain the tampering that I'm talking about on the other side. When I was a lad, I was a work-study engineer. Work-study engineers were people who went into factories, timed people with a stopwatch, and then told them how many pieces they had to make every hour. That was my job. So bad that we had a bad reputation. Time and motion men. Yeah, we were the lowest of the low. We could crawl under a snake's belly with a top hat on. We were the time and motion men. And it reminds me of a joke about the man who fell into a vat of sewage and died going through the motions. So, why am I bringing up this job that I used to have? Well, I studied to be a time and motion man. I learnt how to rate people, how to rate the speed that they were working, how to come up with better ways of doing the same things, all of that. Part of the training was to understand people's motivation and also to understand what's called activity sampling. Okay, rated activity sampling. I was a rated activity sampler. And so I would go in and take a snapshot of a scene and rate people how fast they were working. Then I would go away and I would come back, random time, 7 minutes later, take another random snapshot. And I would rate the speed of the work. What happens is if you do it enough times, then you can use formula and basically, you know. But the bottom line is, if you go into a place 10 times and 10 times they're all sitting having a fag, you can pretty much guess that that's what they spend their time doing. Okay, so that was my job. I was a sneaky bastard, but I was really nice with it. I mean, I wasn't designed to be a time and motion person. It wasn't my thing. I used to rate people higher than what they really were doing just because I liked people. But I learned this thing. And it was called tampering. What is tampering? Well, tampering is this. Every activity, living, working, whatever, breathing, every activity has this sine wave flow. Every activity, okay? Goes up, high activity, lower activity, high activity, low activity. It's how we kind of, it's the universe breathing. That's what I would say. All of this. If you look at nature, nature does this summer, winter, yeah? Everything follows this sine wave. What happens is this. You can go in to go and have a look at something and measure it there, right? So let's say that you go in and you're measuring whatever it is and it's following this path and you actually measure it when it's at the bottom of the dip. And you look at this measurement, you say, that's not good. That's very low, isn't it? Oh, it should be a lot better than that. I know what I'll do. I'll make an adjustment so that it goes back up to where it should be. Yeah. Or imagine that you go in and it's at the top and you look at it and go, ooh, that's a bit high, isn't it? That's a bit too high. I better make an adjustment to bring it back down to where it should be. That's called tampering. Why? Because what happens is this. If you catch something on the down cycle at the low part and you make an adjustment and lift it up, what happens is the natural flow suddenly starts doing that. And so you actually make the extremes worse. You make the problem worse. And it's the same if you catch it on a high. You go, oh, that's a bit high, we'll turn it down. Suddenly, you've changed the whole pattern. You've knocked the shit out of the pattern. The pattern goes like this, okay? And so when you understand that, that's why you should never make a decision based on a snapshot, because you don't know where you are on this. And it made me think about when you go and see one of those people that are designed modernly to take care of your health. I'm going to be very careful what I say because my other channel has been labelled as hateful for whatever reason. So I'm going to be careful. They're all very, very strict on whether you say things about health and stuff. So what happens in the modern world? You're not feeling so grand. And so you go and they do a load of tests, right? They do a load of tests and they look at your levels. And what happens is based on your levels, they will then give you certain things that you then have to take, okay? The issue is, where were you on your cycle? Were you at the top? Were you at the bottom? In the middle? We don't know. That's why when I was a rated activity sampler, I had to go in and look at something as a minimum 20 times before I could fundamentally say, this is what it is. When people go and see the man who wears the white coat and they have this taken, yeah, to see what it's like. Very often, because they're shitting themselves in case the man with a white coat on finds a problem, it's through the roof. Many times. It's called white coat syndrome. However, if the person is not understanding the tampering process, they can then start recommending a course of action that is going to severely tamper you. I recall a man that I worked with, Keith, lovely man, and he had that up there every time he went. And so they put him on this, I think they were called, I'll do it the opposite way around, blockers, beta, right? I don't know much about that, but two things happened to him that I was aware of. One, his face went very red. That's why I seem to recall he was extremely red. He looked like he was about to explode. The other thing that happened was he disappeared as a person. So he would be in the meetings and he had a high-powered position. You know, we were all execs, and he would just sit like that and say nothing. Nothing. He had nothing to offer. And when he was asked a question, he had no answer. And finally, I think after 3 months, he came off them and came back to real life. That was what I would call tampering. Tampering. They tampered with him. And so his normal stuff like that was doing this, except he was down here. Yeah. This is the world that we live in. This is the world that we live in. I'll give you another example of tampering. And tampering is not by accident many times. For example, in the UK, when there was some trouble and a number of people went out to complain, and then they organised some violence and everything, and that was it. Suddenly, all the knobs had to be turned down. That was not allowed anymore. Now we're going to start putting people into the clink and everything. That's what you would call on-purpose tampering. Yeah, that's the Hegelian dialect. That's the we'll create the problem, then we'll fix it. Yeah. So the baddies do a lot of tampering, but also I think it exists everywhere. I suppose we would call it a knee-jerk reaction, and we've got to be careful of it. We personally have to be careful of it. Just because we might catch ourselves on a downer, that doesn't mean that that's where we're going to stay, okay? And so we needn't take a lot of action based on that one moment. What we've got to do is always give it a bit of time. You know that story of the man whose son found a horse, and everybody was saying, that's wonderful, and then he tried to break the horse in and the horse broke his leg, and everyone was saying, that's terrible, and each time the man just kept saying, maybe, who knows, let's see. That's where we have to be. We have to be in that who knows, let's see. It's the same when something really bad happens and we think, oh my God, this is the end of everything. Think back to to the plan stroke demic. At the time, it looked like the shit had really hit the fan. It looked like things had gone so tits up that they were never ever going to be the same again. And in truth, that is the truth. Things have never been the same again. But look at the positive benefits of that. Look at all of the wonderful things that have come out of that. Look at the great awakening that's happened because of that. And so when something bad happens, it doesn't necessarily mean that something bad is happening. Do you remember that joke? I don't know if you've heard it, about the bird that's flying through the sky, and it's flying like la 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 la, and it flies through an ice cloud, and its wings freeze up, and it plummets to the ground, and it thinks, I'm going to die here, I'm going to die, and it lands in a recently dropped cowpat, and the cowpat's still warm, and so the bird is noticing that its wings are starting to defrost, and it's thinking, hey, I feel so much better. And it was really feeling so much better, it started to whistle. And then a nearby farm cat heard the bird whistling, went over and dragged it out of the cowpat and ate it. The moral of the story is something that puts you into the shit isn't always necessarily doing you a bad turn. Someone who drags you out of the shit isn't always necessarily doing you a good turn. And if you're in the shit and you're happy, don't whistle about it. Okay? And that's where we've got to be. Sometimes it seems as though we're in the shit, and we knee jerk and we tamper and we start doing things that we shouldn't really do. We don't really need to do, instead of just waiting it out. And I think that's where we've got to be. Over the next while, we need to wait things out. Just let it happen and see what happens. The sense I get is everything is going to be for the good. Everything, always, ultimately will be for the good. Why? Because that's a direction that we're traveling in. That's where we're going to be. It's all going to be good. And so just wait and trust and pray and have faith. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later.